Well, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world you are joining us from. Welcome back here to the Launchpad and our second live launch coverage of 2022. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. And we believe that space is better together, and you are joining us for our live launch coverage of Transporter 3, SpaceX's third dedicated small sat rideshare mission, launching from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station today. We're going to go straight to it. We are super excited that one of our very own in the community and awesome guys is down there on site today, Taniel. We know you're super excited to do that, and we're excited to quickly patch you in for a second and see your view today. They're launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station with a whole whack of stuff on top of today's Falcon 9. Now, really exciting part about the Falcon 9 here today is this is booster 1058-10. This is the third booster, I believe it is, to reach its 10th launch, and we hope that's going well. But the more exciting part about this is that we are going to see a very rare landing zone 1 return. This means they're not going to be returning on a drone ship. They're going to be landing kind of on your view. They're over at the Banana Beach site. If you were with us with your Inspiration 4 mission, you can see they're in a similar spot, but they're going to be launching not from 39A, but from Slick 40, and then the boosters are going to return just behind the VAB, so hopefully we will have a view of that. We do have SpaceX already spooled up as well, so we're listening in to their mission control, and they'll be getting their coverage here in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. But we'll go through a little bit more of the details here. But if you're just joining us, take a moment, share out the broadcast, hit that like. It really does help us out. As always, on a launch day, you can use promo code LAUNCHDAY on everything on our Etsy shop to get 10% off. And we are super excited to be using all of those funds to get more time with people on site to bring you live coverage and filmed coverage of every launch from hopefully every launch site in the world. So we are working on it, but a little bit of the stats from today. This is the second flight of SpaceX and of any company of 2022, and this is the third year in a row that SpaceX had the first flight, and I believe one of the second that they've had the second. This is their 78th launch from Slick 40, and they're going for their 102nd booster landing with the 28th consecutive landing, which if they nail it, will be a new record. This is the 136th Falcon 9 launch and the 76th flight of a proven booster. So they're getting those numbers up there. Today, as I said, is a dedicated small sat rideshare mission, which means they have crammed every small sat they can into that Falcon 9 fairing. There's going to be between 100 and 120 satellites going into a sun synchronous orbit launching today. On board, there's a whole bunch, and we know SpaceX is going to dive into all of those once they get started, so we are going to let them take that away because they're going to give you the best details on those. But we do know that on board there are payload launch vehicles from Kepler, Guardian, Exolaunch, NanoRacks, Satellogic, Spaceflight, and a large number of other payloads. We know there's some artwork on board from contests. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. And with that, with so many payloads having options, we would just want to give a little teaser that stay tuned. We're going to have a video coming out sometime in the near future about how you may be able to join us on a future mission to space. So stay tuned for that. And we're excited to be working on something really exciting that we will share more details about in the near future. As always, we want to know where's everyone watching from. So take a moment, drop it in the chat, let us know where you're watching from, and we'd be happy to give you some shout outs. And as always, we love answering your guys' questions. So you can send those in the chat. Just take us at the Launchpad, and we'll be able to answer those leading up to SpaceX beginning. We'll watch the launch coverage uninterrupted, and then during the coast phase, we will answer more of your questions. Now, we're waiting for confirmation, but as always, generally with the transporter missions, we do see full deployment coverage, which is going to take a little bit. We're looking at an hour and 27 minutes approximately for full payload deployment, with the first payload deployment starting at about the 1 hour mark. And it's every about 20 seconds or so something is being deployed. So we'll have a bit of a coast phase to answer your guys' questions once we have that the first stage landing, and then we will watch live as we await for deployment of these 100 to 120 small sats that are on board. We got Terry in Colorado, Criterion, I said that wrong, I'm sure, in Oregon. We got the UK, we got Hong Kong, more UK, lots of UKs today. South Carolina, Winnipeg, Zimbabwe, that's amazing. Indiana, welcome everyone. Take a moment, share out the link, let people know that we are live for a launch here, and they have beautiful weather. We did hear just before we went live that they are go for prop load and go for launch, that everything is go. The weather as of last update a couple days ago was 70% go for today, but it looks like a beautiful clear day. Obviously, since they're returning to landing zone 1, their recovery weather is very similar to their landing weather, so that makes it a little bit easier for today's mission. We got West Virginia, we got India, Sweden, Torino, Italy, welcome, Devon, UK. Joe, how many satellites does this make? A lot. There are a lot of satellites up in orbit that we do track, but it's hard to keep an exact number. But there's 100 to 120 on board. These are not Starlink satellites like we would be used to with SpaceX missions for Starlink. These are other customers paying to have their payloads launched to space. And these are small CubeSats generally. So normally a 1 CubeSat's about this large. You could do a 1x2, which you're looking about that size. And then there's all different sizes depending on the launcher system. So what they actually do is they take a center cone in the Falcon 9, and then other companies that design launchers for small sats buy space to put their launcher on, and then sell space on their launcher to payloads on it. So one launcher might have 8 or 10 payloads. So it's someone selling something to somebody else, but it seems to work. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. Just take us at the launch pad, and we will be answering those as we count down towards liftoff here. Liftoff currently scheduled 10:25 Eastern Standard Time, or about 15 minutes from now, which means we do expect SpaceX to begin their coverage here momentarily for it. And excited to hear an update on the weather and the state of the rocket. Give you an idea of some upcoming launches as well that you can expect. We are expecting a Virgin orbit launch later today, so we hope you will join us for that. Also later this week, another Falcon 9 launching from pad 39A of Starlink. This will make 3 launches in just 2.5 weeks for SpaceX, with a 4th scheduled about a week from then. So 4 Falcon 9s in January, so they're definitely picking up their pace there. We've also got an Atlas V launching on the 21st of January, Astra's demo flight from their Cape Canaveral location on January 18th as well. So make sure you come back and join us for all of those. We try to cover every launch that we can. Obviously, a lot of the China launches aren't live views, but anything that we can get a live view or has a live view, we will bring to you uninterrupted here. Of course, we also have our live James Webb tracker running 24/7 until we get to L2. You can go over and check out how deployment's going. And we are seeing that SpaceX is going live here, so we're going to get ready to transition them on here as we get ready to watch Transporter 3 lift off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Quick adjustments here. There we go. Well, We'll keep the live view up from Taniel up until when we have that SpaceX coverage, and then we will listen in to them for the update on the state of the rocket. Yes, they will be Crichton. Criterion. Yes, Criterion they will be. So they are just getting spooled up. They'll have their intro, then we'll patch them in. But super awesome that we have Taniel down there who's on vacation with his family and excited to see a launch. But you can see that Falcon 9 right in the center of your screen there over on Slick 40 getting ready to lift off. Right there is that... other way. There it is. There's that Falcon 9 out on the pad. Obviously, you're shooting a lot further distance than you would for a Pad 39A launch or anything like that. Yeah, it's great to have a view there and some beautiful weather, and excited to hear that lots of people are there for the launch here today. No boats. We don't want any boats. Not on this spot of the water. This spot's smack in the middle of Kennedy. To get where Taniel is located, you do have to go through the visitor center, get onto a bus after you've gone through security, and then it is actually about a 15-minute or so, 20-minute drive to where they are. They're located just next to the Saturn V facility. So this is exactly where we were for the launch of Inspiration 4. The Banana Beach spot. If you're ever at Kennedy and there is a launch during open hours, definitely something to take a look at to see if they have Banana Beach open, because it's free unless it's a special launch like a crewed launch or something like that. Then you do have to get tickets. But if it's just a normal cargo mission and during visitor hours, you can get on a bus and head out. And a lot of the time, a lot of people don't know it's a launch day. I know when we were there for Inspiration 4, we were telling as many people as we could, because people are like, why do you have all this camera gear? Are you filming a movie? I'm like, no, there's a launch in like 20 minutes. Or, there's a launch tonight, and people don't know. Definitely something that we encourage. If you are down there on site, try to take a look, see if you can maybe have the chance to see a launch in person, because once you see one, you're going to be hooked. I can tell you that. I can't wait to get back down there later this year for a Falcon Heavy launch, for SLS, maybe for a Vulcan, fingers crossed, but we will see what happens. Great question from Kobe. Is this launch to support the James Webb? No. So today's launch is a small satellite dedicated rideshare mission, which means SpaceX sold little spots on board their Falcon 9 and they crammed as many satellites on board as they can. I'm sure they'll show us a picture from inside the fairing during their live broadcast as they count down the last 10 minutes or so, as we are coming down to 11 minutes and counting until liftoff of today's mission. But they will be patching more in, and SpaceX still has not actually started their stream. They just have their animated logo, but we will be keeping a close eye on that, but also on the view from Taniel here, and then we will go in and listen into their update when we hear that they begin that coverage. Good morning, Mark. Great to have you here. Great to see so many others. No more Teslas going up. Not everyone was too thrilled with that, and maybe on a Starship they'll put a Cybertruck or something, but no more Teslas from the Cape. Not for a while. Tim, time of launch, we are 10 minutes and counting until liftoff here, so we are waiting for the SpaceX team to begin their live view. And there they go. So we're going to patch them in and take a listen in to an update on the status of the Falcon 9 booster, the payload, and everything there. Once it actually lifts off, we'll go full screen on theirs for those best views that they have from their camera angles. Again, thank you to Taniel for the live view. Super excited that you were down there on site and showing it here. That is what we're going to get to see today, but just one of those. We're super excited to see that. Let's listen in.
Morning. It's Thursday, January 13th, and we're here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. You're looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 as it awaits its 10:25 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. My name is Kate Tice, and I'm a Reliability Engineering Manager here at SpaceX. Welcome to the webcast for SpaceX's Transporter 3 mission, our third dedicated smallsat rideshare program launch, and our second launch of 2022. With today's flight, Falcon 9 will deliver 105 spacecraft, including microsats, CubeSats, pocket cubes, and orbital transfer vehicles to sun-synchronous orbit. There will be a total of 82 deployments, which will begin around the T+1 hour mark and last for approximately 30 minutes. Now, due to the lack of ground station coverage at times and the position of our camera, we only expect a handful of our deployments to be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of ground stations. To see the full list of today's deployments, head on over to SpaceX.com. With liftoff in just over 8 minutes from now, let's take a look to get acquainted with the rocket on your screen. Our two-stage launch vehicle stands about 70 meters tall when fully fueled. It'll hold just over 1 million pounds of propellant that the vehicle will burn through in less than 3 minutes after liftoff. The first stage, which is the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, you can see it there on your screen, is the booster which has 9 Merlin engines that do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, it'll separate and make its way back to Earth and target a land landing back at Landing Zone 1, which you see there on your screen. Today's mission marks the 10th flight for this particular booster, which debuted in May 2020 on our Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station. You will notice the soot left over from its previous 9 flights. On top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage. It connects the 2 stages and houses the pneumatic pushers that allow the first and second stage to separate during flight. Then on top of the inner stage is the Falcon 9 second stage, and that will take the payloads to their eventual destination in orbit. After the first stage separates, the second stage will then carry the 105 spacecraft to orbit. Right now, those satellites are enclosed inside the large nose cone that you see there. It's located on top of the rocket, and this is called the fairing. Its job is to protect the payload until the vehicle is outside the Earth's atmosphere, at which point the fairing separates to expose the satellites to space. Today, we're flying a brand new fairing, and we will be attempting to recover the halves from the water once they return to Earth. The chief engineer held a technical poll at T-1 hour, and the launch director held a propellant load and launch go, no-go poll at T-38 minutes. Since T-35 minutes, Falcon 9 has been loading propellants. Falcon 9 is a bipropellant vehicle, which basically means it uses 2 types of propellants. For fuel, it's a refined form of kerosene called RP1, and the oxidizer is a super-chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX. Currently, RP1 is fully loaded on the second stage, and nearly fully loaded on, actually I'm seeing here, it is fully loaded on the first stage as well, and liquid oxygen loading is currently underway on both the first and second stages. We're also loading helium into storage vessels on the first and second stages. During flight, we will take that cold helium and run it through the heat exchangers on the Merlin engines. The resulting hot helium is used to fill the empty volume in the fuel and LOX tanks that's created by the engine pumps as they pull propellant out of the stage. At T-7 minutes, we began engine chill. This is where we opened the pre-valves between the first stage prop tanks and the 9 Merlin engines. This allows a little bit of cold liquid oxygen to flow through the turbo pumps, which brings them down to a temperature close to that of the super chilled propellant that will soon be flowing through the engines at liftoff. We're just about 4.5 minutes away from liftoff. The vehicle is healthy, and we're currently working no issues. The range is ready to support, And as for weather, we can see that it's a beautiful blue sky day in Florida. There is less than 10% chance of violating the launch commit criteria, so basically the weather rules. And we can see on the screen there that the clamps there around the second stage, just below the fairing, have begun to open. So at this point in time, Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of the countdown. There on your screen, you can see our strong back. That's part of the transporter erector, also called the TE. The TE is what we use to roll out the rocket from the launch pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. The TE is also what routes power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and the satellite.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to our live launch coverage of Transporter 3. We are at T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. On the left side of your screen, the live view from SpaceX. Bottom right's me, and on top right, we have a live view from Taniel, who is on site. Super excited to have a live view here for all of you today because he was down there, and we're glad to be able to patch him in. Thank you so much, Taniel, for that. Keep in mind, with the delays of technology and the internet, we still have delays here on Earth. You are going to see liftoff on the far right side of your screen prior to when it is on the left, but we're going to keep both on. Then we'll go full screen onto SpaceX's, and then we'll pull up live telemetry so we can track both the first stage and second stage through. We'll be live through all of the coast phase end deployment, so make sure you stay with us during that and send in questions that we'll be answering. We'll have about 45 minutes between second engine cutoff and the first payload deployment, and then we'll have about 30 minutes of pretty much consecutive payload deployments, over 105 small satellites included in that fairing that we will see once those fairings open, and you'll be able to see how packed it is. Take a moment, share out the broadcast. T-minus 2 minutes, 20 seconds. As always, here on the launch pad, let's see in the chat a go, no-go in the chat. We've heard their go, but we want to hear from you guys. If you're a member, you can use the go, no-go emojis, but let's see type or emojis if you guys are ready for launch. T-minus 2 minutes. We're going to listen in here as the Falcon 9 gets ready to go into startup, and then we'll have liftoff. Now remember, this is going to be a very historic mission with a rare landing at Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral of the booster. We hope to have some great views of that. We haven't seen one of these since, I believe it was very early last year or even the year before. But let's listen in. T-minus 90 seconds and counting.
From the TE.
Ground gas closeouts.
The next milestone we're coming up to is startup. You'll hear the call out for that at T-minus 1 minute. And that's the indication that the flight computer has taken over.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Falcon 9 is in startup.
All right, there's that call out. Falcon 9 is in startup. At this point in time, stage 1 and stage 2 are beginning to pressurize for launch.
T-minus 45 seconds. We are go for launch.
And there was our final go for launch today from our launch director.
T-minus 30 seconds.
At this point in time, as we approach T-minus 30 seconds, all systems are go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Let's listen in to the final countdown.
T-minus 20 seconds. 105 satellites getting ready to go. Smash that like button. Here we go. 15, 13, 12, 11, 10. Keep in mind, top right's going to be early.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Ignition.
And liftoff.
Yes.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
20 gear pressures are nominal.
T plus 30 seconds. Coming up is going to be Max Q. Listen to that rumble.
All right, as you can see, Falcon 9 has cleared the tower, lifted off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. We just heard the call out that the vehicle is supersonic.
T plus 1 minute.
Going to throttle down the engines in preparation for Max Q coming
Max
up.
Q.
Oh, there we heard it. So that was the moment of greatest aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will experience in flight today. Everything looking nominal with stage 1 trajectory. Now we have 5 events coming up in quick succession.
T plus 90
MECO,
seconds.
or main engine cutoff, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, and the boost back burn. And you can follow along with those events there on the timeline at the bottom of your screen. Beautiful view of the Florida coastline. Main
On your
engine
right
cutoff
side's
coming
live
up in
telemetry
just under
tracking
30
both
seconds.
stages.
As I mentioned before, we will be attempting to land the booster back on land at landing zone 1. This is known as return to launch site, as opposed to a drone ship landing.
Coming up on MECO, separation, second stage ignition, and fairing.
MECO.
There's MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Are they going to show separation this way? Oh, that would be cool. Wow, there we go. And look at that. What a view.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
So you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen, second stage MVAC engine has ignited. The first stage on the left-hand side is performing the boost back, which, as you saw just moments ago, the first stage flipped itself over and is now making its way back to the coast of Florida. Everything looking nominal with second stage trajectory there on the right-hand side of your screen.
So on the right side of your screen, you're seeing 2 blue lines now. One heading kind of towards us on the screen off to the left, and then a blue one that's turning around and heading back.
Right, so there we
coming
heard
up
the
to
call out
fairing.
that the boost back burn has concluded. That was the first of 3 burns that the first stage will perform today. And we can see the grid fins beginning to deploy there on the left-hand side of your screen.
So that boost back burn changed it so the Falcon 9
Next
wasn't
event we have
following
coming
the
up.
payload, but was turned around and is now coming right back to land at Kennedy. So now we have 2 blue lines to track. One is extending to the left. There's fairing separation, and you can see that cram-packed fairing, 105 satellites on board. Booster 1058 getting ready to come back to land at Kennedy Space Center here. We are going to patch in the live view here and see if we can see that entry burn as it comes down, but we'll keep telemetry up for a little bit here. But let's see that booster make a rare return to landing at Kennedy Space Center. Got a couple minutes till entry burn, coming up T plus 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Beautiful views from the first stage there on the left-hand side of your screen and the second stage on the right. The next milestone will be the first stage booster re-entry burn. Falcon 9 executes an entry burn to slow itself down before hitting the dense part of the atmosphere. Without this burn, relying on the atmosphere alone to slow down the Falcon 9 would put unnecessary strain on the rocket. And there we can see the east coast of Florida.
Stage 2 on a nominal trajectory.
Space Coast there in the background of on the left-hand side. Once again, we are launching the Transporter 3 mission today. This is SpaceX's 3rd dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission, and it's our 2nd mission of 2022. SpaceX is targeting at least 3 dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit per year, and we also offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions.
While they're doing a promo for you if you want to buy a satellite mission, booster has reached its apogee and now on its descent back down to the Florida coast. You can see those RCS thrusters firing, as well as the grid fins steering it down towards the launch site. Gonna land just not even a couple miles, maybe about 1.5 miles away from where it lifted off here. Second stage on its way. You can see that entry burn getting ready here, as this is when it's going to be re-entering the atmosphere. It needs this to help slow down and deal with the re-entry heating, and then we will see a secondary landing burn. We are going to kick in here the live shot again from down at the Cape. If it'll load, everyone's excited to see it. You can see the plume from the launch there just on your screen. Oh, looks like we lost that. So we're going to stay with telemetry and with SpaceX here for the landing.
There on your screen, we can see that entry burn
There's
has
that
begun.
entry burn.
Once again, this burn is designed to slow the booster down as it returns through the dense part of the atmosphere.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
As we just heard there,
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
everything continuing to look good with second stage. As I mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to recover this booster for the 10th time today, and we're targeting a landing at landing zone 1. The first stage has just one more burn left, the landing burn.
Yes, it's safe.
It begins just before touchdown and provides the booster a soft descent before landing.
You can there see
About
a
the same
lot.
time
You can
that
see all of Kennedy Space Center coming up. The VAB, the launch site, Cape Canaveral. As it comes down to the landing site, we'll have landing burn here momentarily. Here we go.
Around 900 miles per hour really puts the deceleration into perspective. In the span of less than a minute, we'll have reduced from twice the speed of a
Stage
jet
1, landing burn.
all the way down to 0
Landing burn
as the
start
rocket
up.
lands.
Come on.
There's a
T
view
plus
on
8
the right-hand
minutes.
side
Stage 2 in terminal guidance.
of the landing, back at landing zone 1.
There's that sonic boom and the ignition and the landing. Landing legs deploy here in a second.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy. Stage 1, landing
Perfect.
confirmed.
As you heard from the call out there and from the cheers behind me, we have successfully landed this Falcon 9 for the 10th time. It's also the 102nd recovery of an orbital class rocket.
So on the right side of your screen, you can see the telemetry of Stage 2 continuing on. Stage 1 just landed back at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And now we're going to have a coast phase.
And as we just heard, we had good orbit. So we're now going to coast for the next 45 minutes or so while we wait for second engine start 2 or SES 2. We'll see you back here at around T plus 55 minutes.
And with that, we're going to begin answering your guys' live comments and questions. So you can send those in the chat. You don't have to pay for them. Send them in for free in the chat. Just tag us at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those as we count down towards deployment here. The first deployment's going to be in about 50 minutes from now. But we do have a second burn that they need to complete first. So we'll keep that in. But another beautiful launch and landing. Again, thanks to Taniel for those live views of the liftoff. Great tracking. Super excited to have our team down there more often to bring you guys live launch coverage, along with, of course, the live views that you can't beat from SpaceX. If it's your first time here, take a moment, hit that like, subscribe button. It helps us out. Also, 10% off everything on our shop. You can pick up your favorite Raptor shirt. We do have our limited edition James Webb stuff available still as well, so you can get that over on the shop. The link link will be in the description there. But promo code launch day gets you 10% off of everything, and that goes into helping make sure we can inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. May see a few new models behind us. We're super excited to be bringing some new things out to you in the shop over the coming weeks and months. Make sure you stay tuned for that as well. But you guys can keep sending in your guys' questions, and we will answer that. We got a question from David. What is the payload on today's mission? So today's mission was a dedicated rideshare for small sats. So they click back and forth through it. Hopefully we'll see a live view of the payload again now that the fairing is open. But there are 105 small satellites, all generally speaking smaller than a toaster, that have been cram-packed onto that payload section, and will deploy over the course of about 30 minutes, some one at a time, some will launch in a group and then slowly work their way out, and those will be starting about 45 minutes from now. We're going to be staying live through that. The real YouTube, I like the landing better than the drone ships. I do too. The video's better, the sound's better, and they're just absolutely incredible to see them land. Now keep in mind, we hopefully later this year, at the end of the year, are going to see a Starship booster do one of those landings. So keep that in mind. We got some exciting things coming up. Got to get through booster Starship BS420 first, and we will be live on location for that for sure. But hopefully by the end of the year, we'll see another launch or two of Starship. Starboy, how many cameras are on it? Well, they've got a lot of cameras. They don't release them all to us during their broadcasts, but they do have cameras on board, and they have one pointing up at the fairing. They normally have one pointing down on the booster, probably, and then we know there's at least two on the second stage to see either side of the engine bell. So there are multiple cameras on board. Trying to catch up on your guys' questions here. Thanks, dog. I appreciate that. We're working on it. We're hopefully we'll make that happen. We've been looking into some things. The engineer held your breath on landing. Is that the second booster to land over 10 times? That is the third. So third to land over 10 times, and we've had one land, a launch and land an 11th time, and that happened just a few weeks ago. So SpaceX working on elevating and tracking that up as they continue their rapid pace load. This is only their second launch of the year, and we are on the 13th of January 2022. We've got another one next week and another one the week after that, so we're going to have, or we've got another one in like 5 days. From pad 39A, and then we have another one from Cape Canaveral from the pad you saw today in about a week and a half. So we're going to have 4 Falcon 9 launches in about 3.5 weeks, which is going to be super amazing, very busy down there. The reason they're able to do another launch right away so close is because they landed this one on land. They have 2 drone ships. One of them is getting a little bit of repairs after the mission at the end of December. The booster kind of hit the side of it a little bit. Didn't look too bad to the drone ship, but it looks like the booster definitely is going to need a longer repair time and some new engines. But because of that, it means they have a drone ship that they took a booster off ready to go. So really, it is just about what drone ships they have available on how frequently they can launch. The launch pads are both theirs, so they could crank about really as fast as they like. Solve it. They build the new Starship mission. They're working on it. Still waiting on the FAA. Hopefully going to have that FAA approval at the end of February. Mr. Frenchie, I didn't see a message. I will take a look and see if it's there. I know sometimes it goes into like a pending thing that doesn't notify me, so I'll take a look after the stream there. Leo just had the sonic boom in Cape Canaveral. That's awesome, Leo. Even just hearing the sonic booms is a cool thing, knowing stuff is going to space. Are there gyroscopes involved to maintain vertical landing? So they use the grid fins that are on board, those grid fins that you saw sticking out, and they can pivot, and they don't go this way, but they do this. So with the 4 of them, they can control it, and then they also can use the engine as well for that. But it's all the grid fins and then the RCS thrusters. The engine just slows it down to land it there for it. Philip, what is the purpose of stage 2? What will it do? So the second stage, and I'm getting a smaller Falcon, so it'll be easier to describe. This one's just a little too big. It's 5 feet tall, a little too big to bring up to the camera. I'm getting a smaller one soon. But the first stage boosts it out of our, basically mostly out of our atmosphere, fights gravity. That's why it's so large, has more engines. Once it separates, that second stage ignition is normally a vacuum optimized engine, which is better use for in the vacuum of space and not in our atmosphere. So that second stage gives it an additional boost. So if you're thinking about our Earth, and where's Kennedy? You're over here. So you're launching up. The first stage does go sideways a little bit, but it mainly gets you up and a little bit sideways. Then you separate, the booster lands or lands back at land. But then the second stage ignites and keeps pushing you. Because if you launched off of the planet and didn't go sideways fast enough, you would just eventually come down. So you launch, booster step, you ignite your second stage. If you didn't, you'd come back. But the second stage keeps burning, which keeps moving your arc. So you keep going further until you get into a point where you get into a stable orbit and you are in a consistent fall around the Earth. So then you are consistently being able to go around the planet with the second stage, which is why we're going to see a second burn occur here. As you can see on your tracker, it says MECO 2 coming up quite later on in the timeline. That's when we're going to see that second stage reignite. The second stage only burned for a few minutes, got it most of the way, but it wasn't able to complete the circle, and sometimes that is normal. You'll do one burn and then another. So we did the first burn, that got us to our highest point here, but our lowest point would still not be where we want over here on this side. So we're going to do a burn once we get to this point to increase our apogee and perigee to keep us in a constant circle. We're working on some videos that'll explain it a little better with some animations to come out this year, but that's kind of a basic idea, and I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know. Second stage also can be used to push payloads out of Earth orbit or to higher Earth's orbit. Today they're going to a sun synchronous orbit for him. Chrysler, SpaceX is on top of game. Shame that NASA couldn't show all the things. Yeah, they showed, the James Webb launch, I was pretty happy with it, to be honest. They showed more than I thought they were going to. I'm really happy that we had live views for a few hours leading up to it. There's no cameras on board. It didn't make sense to have cameras on board, so it's a very different mission than something like this, where the second stage is just going to burn up, so it's not a big deal. There's not cameras on all these CubeSats, so we won't see them after they deploy. Rocket Gamer, when will satellites disconnect? So we have to have that second stage burn first. We are expecting that burn to occur at T plus 55 minutes, 22 seconds, and it's just for 2 seconds to complete their orbit. And then we will have the first deployment, T plus 59 minutes, 38 seconds, and then it's like every 20 to 40 seconds after that, deploy, deploy, deploy. We've got 105 satellites to deploy, so they will have some. Diamond with love the large models. Yeah, absolutely love these. They're from a good friend over on Etsy called Starship Balls. Definitely check them out. And we're super excited to be getting ready to release a couple. We got a couple tests done, models to you guys that are going to be able to have some really awesome views both inside and possibly outside and inside of some of the models. And we're excited to do that, and then hopefully be able to find a way that we can do some kind of like a model of, with every so many models that go, we're going to be able to donate models to schools to help equip the libraries and stuff in elementary and junior high to be able to show kids models like these with what's going on, because we're really entering the next generation of a space race, and there's lots of stuff happening, and we want the schools to be equipped for that. So today's mission, there's not a dedicated purpose. It's a purpose of each of the payloads. So on board are 105 different ones. A couple of them, there is a Super Dove satellite which are being launched. There's actually 44 of them, that are going to be launched into the planet's SkySats constellation. The Super Dove is an upgraded version of the regular Dove, which will increase the resolution offered by the constellation. The constellation currently offers resolution of 72 centimeters, which is for its picturing of Earth. So you can zoom in to 72 centimeters, but once they have these super doves up, they hope to be down to about 50 centimeters. These are cameras that are in a constellation to provide better sun synchronous orbit, which means every time they take a picture over the same spot, the sun is in the same place there. It's better to monitor agriculture, different things like that. There's the Capella satellites, which are an Earth data on demand. So they're launching a satellite dubbed Sequa, I believe it is. That's a radar constellation to help in disaster relief, mapping areas for architectural and infrastructure advancements, as well as some security. So they're working on some stuff with that. It's actually a bit larger, so it's a cube sat, small sat, but it actually can deploy a 3.5 meter mesh reflector and a 400 watt solar array. So it has a bunch of stuff in it that will come out and deploy, and it can have a download rate of 1.2 gigabytes a second for image downloading. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. There's payloads and payload launches from Kepler, Guardian, Exolaunch, NanoRacks, Satellogic, Spaceflight, and a large number of others. So SpaceX didn't go into all the details. Some people don't want to know the public to know their payload is on board, but that is what they are working. Not a Starlink mission, 105 private payload missions going. And I teased it a little bit earlier, but make sure you guys stick around over the next few months, maybe sooner. We are excited to be announcing something really exciting about how you may have a chance to go to space with us. So stay tuned for that. So a lot of the payloads that were launched today will have control of where they are, so they won't be generally classified as space junk because they are under control and operation. SpaceX's second stage, once it deploys everything, will actually fire its engines to lower its orbit so it burns up and re-enters in a safe location, as SpaceX doesn't leave any junk. The fairings are actually going to land out at sea and be recovered, I'm assuming, by Bob, I believe. I don't think we have confirmation of Bob or Doug, who is downrange to pick up the fairings. But because the booster landed, there's no drone ship. Treasure Dives, I just got your Launchpad shirt. That's awesome, Treasure Dives. Make sure to leave a review. But yeah, definitely check out the shop, guys, if you haven't. Launch day gets you 10% off of everything, including our limited edition James Webb stuff. So you can take a look at that. The limited edition James Webb shirts are only going to be available until L2 insertion. So you can keep that in mind. George, what a nice launch this was. A very good layout with the live. Awesome. Yeah, we're really happy to have that and hope to keep that more. We're going to be keeping this live set up with the telemetry as well as then hopefully live views more often. But that's thanks to your guys' support if we can have people down there on site. Keep sending in your questions. We're going to be answering those through our live coast phase, and then we will be coming up to that second stage burn. We got about 30 minutes until that burn. Thanks, Joe, for being here. Great to have you. Thanks, Supernova, Dog. The tool mat, what happens to the carrying vehicle after satellite? So yeah, I just sort of mentioned it. Again, smaller model coming soon. It'll be easier to describe. But that second stage basically is a cone, and then it has all the little payloads. Once they're all gone, it will turn around, fire its engines to slow itself down, so then it re-enters. Generally speaking, they re-enter around Australia in the southern Pacific Ocean in a dedicated spot for that splashdown. Because of how long the orbit's going to be, we are going to see more than one orbit during payload deployment, so they might have to wait to go around again, depending where they've chosen to do that. It is a dedicated zone. There's a keep out zone put into place, so there's no boats or anything in the region that they would need to be worried about, that they keep track on. M. Christensen reminds me watching the Apollo missions. That's exciting. I wish I got to see those, but I'm super excited to see the Artemis missions. Heading back, and this time to stay. Adriana shakes my home here in Palm Bay. Oh, jealous. The only thing that shakes my home here is when it's a blizzard. Pascal, can we see the launches on this channel? Absolutely. So we cover all live launches, landings, special coverage, interviews. We've lined up a number of interviews coming up this year. A couple of them I can't just say yet, but we are super excited to have those coming up. If you are on our Discord, you guys can get the first notice. If you are a member, you can get access to behind the scenes. But over on our Discord, we do have a place where we announce our interviews and give you guys the opportunity to send in questions to be included during our interviews. So you can join that. Discord's totally free to join. Over half of our servers open to the public. And we hang out in live comms and gaming comms all the time, and 3D printing. In the 3D printing, you guys can see a little bit of an early view at some things coming soon. But then also we have our behind the scenes, where you guys can get early video access, script access, see the editing process. When we're live on location, you can see a raw view of setup and teardown and different things like that to really see what all goes into making the launch pad possible. Chuck, yeah, Apollo only threw away their first stage every time. Much more refined. Absolutely. Heather, will the Virgin Orbit launch actually happen today? We're waiting for confirmation on it. It wouldn't be the first time they've made delays right at the beginning, like of a launch day that they were targeting. But last I heard, they were targeting, still that launch today. 19 hours ago, they confirmed it was still going to happen today. So we are waiting to see when that will be. Currently, we are planning to go live around 12:30 Pacific or 20:30 GMT UTC for the coverage of Above the Clouds with Virgin Orbit. So we hope you guys will join us for that when that happens. We'll be keeping a live view. They do have a couple-hour launch window, so that live stream may get bumped. So we'll keep updating the time on the live stream. So you guys know when to come back. So if you hit set reminder, you can do that. Kevin's dog saw it in Orlando. That's awesome. Hope they go to move to. Well, they're not moving anywhere. They're moving back to Florida. Starship's coming to Florida. Texas is just a test site. But Starship's going to be launching permanently from Florida. They're going to be building 2 pads, one at pad 39A, one at the new launch site they're looking at, pad 49, which will be getting developed. And we have a big video we're working on about the future of Kennedy Space Center. We've had access to some documentations about the future of the launch sites and facilities, so we're working on that. Hopefully to come out in the next week or so, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, Space Coast isn't going anywhere, Adriana, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I think it's pretty good. Ryan, are you headed to Starbase for the orbital launch of Starship whenever it happens? Absolutely, Ryan, we are. Thank you so much for your support as well. But absolutely, we are definitely going to be down there for the orbital launch. We're going to be down for Artemis 1 and with SLS, possibly even at rollout, we're hoping. And then we're hoping to at least catch 1 or 2 of the Falcon Heavies this year as well. If not more, we'll see how it goes. But definitely hoping to be down there as often as possible as accredited media, which means we'll be able to bring you even better views than today in Inspiration 4. So we're working on all of our mobile studio to make sure that we can bring you that full live, full quality coverage of those launches. And of course, we'll always patch in the SpaceX feeds because obviously once it goes so far away from the land, they're going to have the better cameras. Dog, FAA is politics or safety concerns? Both. Yeah, both. The FAA is supposed to be about safety, but there's definitely politics that play into it. Ooh, if they shake now, I don't want to get you upset, but SLS and Starship going to rattle a lot more. If you remember the shuttle, that, but with 1 more engine. So that's coming back soon. BT4, dude, I went and got the fairing falling. I don't know if I... Really? That's amazing. Absolutely, yeah. If you guys, we meant to mention this earlier, actually. If you guys are down in Florida, anywhere along the Space Coast, and you take pictures or videos of today's launch, you can send those in to us over on Discord in the Share Your Stuff area, or you can send it over on Twitter at @TLPN_official, or we'll put that in the chat, and just tag us with that, and we may give a shout out, a replay, or a retweet, or we may even pull it up on stream and feature your guys' live view. Alfred launched already, or what it did launch already. We're now waiting for payload deployment. Peter Jordan, any estimate on the savings made in a reuse of a launch vehicle? A lot. The booster itself, the body, isn't the most expensive part. It's the engine. So they do still need some refurbishing. The record is 27 days. They've done that twice from landing to launch. Excuse me. Early morning. But it is something that is a huge reduction in price. But obviously there's still cost of doing the body and everything, and the RCS and all of that. But the biggest cost is those... the engines and everything that goes along with the engines. We don't have an exact price on it, but it does help a lot. Help reduce it. Mr. Frenchy, what are the Starlinks? So Starlinks are satellites that they're putting up in orbit as a constellation, which means there's going to be a whole lot of them. Currently, they're targeting to put about 14,000 in orbit. They've requested approval to put up to 40,000 in orbit. They're not huge. I mean, they're a big satellite, but they're not huge. You can fit two side by side in a Falcon 9 fairing. You used to be able to launch 60 at a time. Now we're seeing them launch 49 to about 54 because they're now have lasers on them and are going into the second generation of the satellite. So they're a little bit different, so they can't fit as many. Really, they need Starship for Starlink to work. But Starlink is an internet communications service, so it gives you Wi-Fi, and the idea is if you have a satellite dish for Starlink, that you can launch pretty much anywhere, or you can connect pretty much anywhere in the world, as long as Starlink goes over top, which basically covers everything except Antarctic and the polar, and even that is changing as they're doing some polar launches. Right now, if you're in a city, and I know this is not a hugely loved statement, if you're in a city, Starlink is not for you yet. Starlink is for people in rural communities, in second and third world regions that have never had internet access, or rural communities that have low access to internet or low speed access. That's what it's for. If you are in a major city and have fiber optics available, or cable or something like that, that is going to be faster. Like, I personally run on a 1500 download and just under 1,000 upload. Starlink is like maybe 100 download and not that upload. So right now Starlink isn't for me. Now Starlink for our portable studio, once the satellite dishes are something that you can change where you use it, right now they're geo-locked. So when you register for one, and it is a long wait to get one, it's stuck to whatever address you put it in. So once those open up, they're going to become a lot more flexible for cruises, for people that RV and travel like that, because we will definitely get a few of them at that point for all of our mobile studios, because then I can put one in my backpack with the dish in my suitcase, and we can go to Kennedy, then we can get on a plane and go to Texas and still have connection without having to pay two different fees. We just pay one fee. We did also hear that SpaceX seems to be considering and applying to have Starlink open up as a cell phone communications as well, where they will be able to make a phone service. But that won't happen until they get much more of their deployment done. So probably after they pass that 14,000 number and have the internet fully done, then they can start to look at opening up other options. And I think that's a really great option. It'd be really great to have one service plan that's like global coverage, because it wouldn't be a regionally locked thing. It would just be, do you want a phone plan? So we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's a change to the phone industry, but we'll see. Technique, anyway, they will have a video of them over Antarctica. No, unfortunately not. For a good chunk of, they said today, there won't be any ground stations, and that is because they did a polar launch. So since they launched over Florida, and then they've been over the ocean. Now they're over Antarctica. They're going to keep going over the ocean. So they're not going to actually pick up feed until they come back over, I believe, the North Pole, depending on their exact telemetry or trajectory. Need a coffee. So they won't have live views. That's why we haven't seen the view of the engine bell or the view of the payload for a while, is because there's no ground stations. So they can't have downlink. So right now, Falcon 9's second stage and all that payload are fully autonomous. They're using their thrusters and whatever to keep the direction, but they're not firing the engine right now. They're just coasting in orbit, working their way up to that MECO 2 mark about 20 minutes from now. Then the engines will fire. Then we'll have a couple minutes and you'll see that deploy. And when we get to that deploy, you're going to see a whole bunch of deploys happen, because we've got 105 satellites to deploy, and it's at least one every about 20 to 30 seconds for about 30 minutes. So we're going to hear a lot of deploy. But they are going to leave that up and have that there. Justin, good to see you again. Glad you're here. We're super excited to be back into the launch stuff. And space news updates are returning. We've been doing a little work on those, so we hope that you will stay tuned for those. We're hoping to get some more of those out this week. Caitlin was this booster that also used for Inspiration 4. It was not. That launched a week ago. That was, about a week ago. That launched Starlink. That booster's already come back into port, and it's actually really neat. You can still see the writing of the Inspiration 4 crew's name on it after it launched. So they wrote, it was a used booster, so they wrote in the soot. It launched, the Inspiration 4 crew landed, launched again and landed, and you can still see the names on the booster, which is really neat. This booster was used for the DM2 mission with Bob and Doug, and has done 8 other missions, and Bob and Doug. Wow, I need to really order that coffee. Cost of a Falcon 9 in low Earth orbit's $90 million. The total packet's around $270 million, but that's plenty of Delta V to get you as far as Pluto. I don't think Falcon 9 can get to Pluto. Maybe it can. I have to look. Catching up on your guys' questions. Thanks, Pascal. Appreciate it. Ooh, I'm going to say your name wrong. Vitaligus? I'm sorry. But thanks so much. I appreciate that. Does SpaceX give the total mass of the payload? Let me see if I have that in my notes. I believe we do. Dog Tone, hello to the children who are tuned in. Hello, puppies. How are you guys doing? Thanks for watching. Thanks, gaming. I appreciate it. Today's payload, I don't believe we got a number for the payload. Normally we do, but we didn't get one for today, unfortunately. Justin, does SpaceX use the Stennis Space Center in Mississippi at all? No, they do not. They have all of their own testing facilities. The only facilities they share with NASA are the launch sites. And even that's starting to change as they expand out. Really, they only, as Kennedy evolves. Yes, they have all their own testing facility in McGregor, Texas, as well as a few other sites. As we're over Antarctica, no downlink, which means no internet connection, basically, or communication connection, so we have no live views. But we will see live views shortly. We're about less than 25 minutes. No. We're about 18 minutes or so away from the second stage ignition again here, which we will then hear confirmation from them about that. I agree, Humberto. It's a great idea. Adriana, oh, I do. I was there for Inspiration 4. It's loud, but personally, I love it. I'm sure it is something that if it happens a lot, I'm not sure I would say it gets old, but while you're doing other stuff, if that's not what you're watching, could be a little annoying. I live right across the street from a train track, so I get it. Most of the time, you just tune it out, but every once in a while you hear it and you're like, oh, there's another one. Especially at 3 in the morning. Tim, welcome as a VIP spectator. Thanks for supporting us in that way. If you guys are, I want to mention this too, if you guys are a YouTube member and have joined our Discord, send me or one of our other mods a message. We'll just verify that, if you send me a message, it's easiest on the Discord thing. We can then verify that you do have a membership. So that's a VIP spectator, mission specialist, mission commander, any of those. If you pay here on YouTube, message me on Discord. And then we can just make sure that we've upgraded your role on Discord so you actually see it. YouTube doesn't directly talk to Discord unless you do some other stuff. So we just manually do it. Antarctica is a whole nother story. Yeah, trying to catch up. You guys sent in a lot of questions, so keep sending them in. We got a little bit of time. Peter, Starlink's rolling out into hard to reach places in the U.S. at $500 the gear plus fees. Yeah, so I mean, it's not cheap. It's $500 for your gear, roughly, and then about $100 a month. But does it offset the balance? Probably. I mean, I pay over $100 a month for internet, so the actual service price is really good. The equipment's just a little expensive. Cell service in space would be amazing. I'm not sure you'd have... I mean, technically you might. If you're under the constellation, you might technically have cell service, actually. That's a neat idea, Mr. French. You hadn't thought about that. Peace of photo, good to see you. Heather, thank you. Heather, thank you so much for that $4.99. Here's for your coffee, Zach. Appreciate it. I'm going to make a really nice Nespresso, not sponsored, but if they want to, call us. Nespresso drink after this. I'll be real. I got up and into the studio with about 10 minutes to spare before we had to actually patch everything in and then go live. So, it's an early morning, but that's okay. Mista, okay, I understand it's not free, but is the internet that bad in the U.S. that he will make a profit? I can't sense it Starlink from a business point of view. Yeah, so the U.S., Canada, first world countries have great internet in their cities. The moment you leave the major city and get a little bit out of it, internet coverage plummets. So, like, I know some people that have farms that their best service was their cellular service for internet. They couldn't get Wi-Fi or internet cable that competed with what they got on their cell phones, and even that was bad. Like, they were getting 5 megabyte download, like not even one upload. Like, it would take forever for a site to load. So yeah, there are a lot of parts of North America that don't have service coverage because a lot of the providers don't want to run the cabling. And that was one thing I talked to a few people about, is the internet providers just don't want to run this stuff. And if you want them to, they'll do it for you. But you have to pay for all of the digging, all of the cables to be run, and then pay for your service. So if you want internet, you might have to pay a lot to get it. And a lot of people don't want to do that. So Starlink, excuse me. This is what happens when you stay up to 3 a.m. 3D printing models. Yeah, it's really expensive for a lot of people. And the little bit of internet you can get, in some of these rural communities is more expensive than Starlink. So it really is. Billy Beckett, if you like the energy from coffee, you should try one of your clean energy drinks. Interesting. It's the ups and downs that appeal to certain parts of the U.S. Yeah, absolutely. Like in city, like we could not do this on. We could do a live stream on Starlink. Don't get me wrong, but the rest of my house, if I was streaming, generally couldn't be run. Like my house is very smart. All the lighting in the studio, like I can push a button and turn lights on and off. I don't know which ones I turned on and off, but which one was that? Oh, that was the one right behind me, which actually was supposed to be on. Anyway, but like all of our lights are automated. Our outdoor lights are automated. We have smart speakers in like pretty much every room. We have multiple other computers. Like right now in the studio, we have 2 systems running, the James Webb system and this system. Starlink could do that, but if you have a much lower download and an upload, you're going to start filling that a lot faster. So that's why we're able to stream this in higher than 1080p in 4K and have James Webb running in that while still someone else is watching TV, while someone else is on their computer and stuff like that. So it depends on your living situation. There are some people that Starlink will be enough right now and it costs the same, so why not? But if you use a lot of internet right now, you'd have to watch it. It's also, excuse me, not perfect. Coast stages are tiring. Fabian, what happened to telemetry? So telemetry freezes because there's no downlink. So even SpaceX right now does not know how fast it is or what altitude it's at. We have a simulation. That's what you're looking at on your screen. That blue line is where we believe it is, but we do not have an actual data until we come up with a ground station. Technique, so no downlink. How did they manage to have a video on the Roadster deep in space then? They didn't. So the Roadster was not deep in space when we really saw it. It did get a lot higher. Like James Webb, we saw at a much higher altitude, going much faster, but we saw it launch over land. So when it launched, so like, generally speaking, launches out of North America, let's see here. I know this is small, but launches out of Florida in North America generally go this way. They follow the East Coast, which means they have satellites all along the East Coast. They follow the East Coast of Canada. They go over. Then there's Greenland, so there's another station. Then it goes over the ocean, Iceland, comes around, and then you got Europe. And then, so you're passing over. Then you pass over Europe. Then you pass over the Middle East and Asia. And you pass over there. Then you work on coming down and around, and then you go to Australia. So then you have a little gap here over the Indian Ocean that we don't have telemetry. But then you come down, you got Australia, right? Then you come back around and you come up, and then you got the little gap again because of the ocean, but then you're back over. That's why. So with Roadster, we did have a little dropout at times, but they were followed the orbit of it. There's a lot of different orbits that we can do. Today, they launched out of Florida, and they went basically straight down. So they launched, had telemetry over South America, but once they left South America, it's ocean, 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 Antarctica, more ocean, 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 ocean. They'll have a little bit eventually as they come around over the pole by Russia and Canada. So they're over water like 85-90% of it, and that's why we don't have data. But when they launched Roadster, they were over land a lot more, so that's why we were able to see that footage longer. Yeah, the population density definitely affects the internet. Pistachio, I don't know who you are. I just found your channel, but thank you for what you do. You'll be great success student in the round. Thanks so much, Pistachio. I appreciate that. Glad that you're here and checked us out. Cable is so much cheaper than tens of thousands of satellites, which most of the time are not above their target customer. It's true. The Starlinks cover all the oceans too. But that's actually going to change how we think of connection. So SpaceX is already in talks with 6 airline companies, as well as cruise ship companies, to have internet on all of those. So that will change the game in the cruising industry, because right now you get on a cruise, you have no cell service or internet, unless you want to pay for their really expensive internet plan, which no one does. You're disconnected, which some people really like, but some people, like, I would love to be on a cruise for vacation with my family, but still be able to give you guys a launch, once during it. Take a couple hours out of one day to cover a launch, and then go enjoy the rest of my cruise. Right now, you can't do that. Some people can't cruise because they have a business they need to run. You can't be disconnected for 4 or 5 or 7 or 14 days. And then the only option to have internet is when you're in port, if your cellular provider gives you service in that country. So Starlink right now, though we think only on land, if it covers all airplanes and cruise ships, is going to change a lot of stuff too. The sonic booms are amazing, BT4. I agree. Yes, the second stage separation was really neat to see from that wide view. We normally only see the onboard view, but I really like that live side view. But that, again, the reason they were able to do that is it was tracking along the coastline. It wasn't out over the ocean. So different there. Heather, a lot of the Utah has craptastic internet. We have a lot of rural areas that don't get internet. Interesting. I didn't realize it was that bad. Yeah, I know. What's even like cellular coverage? A lot of places have cellular coverage, but it's not even that great. And you'd think in this day and age when we all live and are connected to our phones that you would have it. Starboy, but can the third world countries afford to pay $100 per month for the internet, and are they allowed to use an American product? I know some don't. So some definitely don't. There are countries that right now that don't allow Starlink in. Also, SpaceX right now is offering, like, SpaceX is still basically in beta. Or beta testing. They've just started the real rollout of it, passing, I believe, 150,000 customers, which is a lot of customers. But when you think of how many billion people there are, it's really not. The third world question, there are guaranteed to be eventually government subsidies. Eventually when SpaceX has their 14,000 satellites and they have 1 billion customers or whatever, that price should be able to come down. And will make it more accessible. Also, I worked with humanitarian organizations, and we literally talked 5-6 years ago about, like, could we almost airdrop in, like, a solar station with a cellular connection and, like, some computers or tablets connected for, like, a school. Because you have to think, there's so many schools around the world. I've been in the field in Kenya and Brazil and in Nicaragua, and these schools rely on books that are so old and outdated, they don't have up-to-date information. So it's like, what if you could drop a Starlink in the middle of rural Kenya, and those teachers are able to get updated information or actually research stuff for their kids that are asking questions that they maybe don't have. So Starlink has some huge possibilities, and I'm excited to see what it can do. It is expensive, but it will cheapen out over the next couple of years as more and more people get on board. And here we go.
Our third dedicated rideshare mission. Falcon 9 lifted off at 10:25 a.m. Eastern from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, had a successful stage separation, landed first stage back at landing zone 1, and successfully completed our first second stage burn. We're now waiting to relight the MVAC engine on the second stage for the second and final burn. It will be a quick burn lasting only 2 seconds, and we're anticipating that to begin in just a couple seconds.
And if you saw on your screen that timeline flared open, that second stage burn is supposed to start. We got live tracking now because they're coming back over land. But you saw all those deployment nodes. So we're about 4 or 5 minutes away from deployment starting. There's second stage ignition and cutoff. There's that burn.
On your
That's
screen,
it.
like I mentioned, only a 2-second burn, super quick.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Okay,
And we got
there
good
we have the
orbit.
Call out that we have confirmation of good orbit. Next up, starting around T+1 hour, we will start the deployments of our 105 spacecraft.
So we got a couple more minutes till those deploy nodes, and then we have about 30 minutes of deployments of deploy. So we'll keep answering your questions, but we'll be listening into those. So you can keep sending your questions in the chat. Just tag us with @thelaunchpad. That helps me see when a question is there, but we do try to catch up on all of them as well. Virginia, TLP, coffee, and a Falcon 9 launch. It's a wonderful combination to wake up to. Absolutely, it would be. Jim, most pass. Oh, she's still
About
talking.
3 times a year, providing regular access to orbit. Additionally, we offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple weeks or so. Coming up in approximately 2 minutes, we're expecting the start of the deployment sequence. There will be 82 deployments for 105 spacecraft, which will occur over a 30-minute period of time. These deployments include microsats, CubeSats, pocket cubes, and orbital transfer vehicles, which are sometimes called space tugs. And they will deploy the spacecraft after separating from Falcon 9. Many of these deployments will be grouped within seconds of each other. As I mentioned at the start of the webcast, due to the lack of ground station coverage at times in the position of our camera, we expect only a handful of our deployments to be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of the ground stations. So you should hear a call out from our mission operators as each deployment happens. And keep in mind, most of these deployments include multiple satellites. So while there are 82 individual deployments, at the end,
Acquisition of signal, Bangalore.
At the end, we will have put 105 satellites into orbit.
So what you just heard there, acquisition of satellite Bangalore, which means they are now in communication with a ground station in Bangalore, which here's the dish. The satellite will pass, the payloads will pass over with the second stage. They can track it, and then you'll hear loss of signal Bangalore, and then you hope that they have another station, so when this this dish turns, this one catches it up before this one loses, and that's how you have continuous coverage. But right now, they have that acquisition coming up about a minute away from deployment, and you can see on that tracker already, deploy. So we're going to listen into all of that and see what happens. We're going to keep answering your questions as well. William, are there plans to refuel JWST? Right now, no, because we can't do it. But we're going to listen in here, and then I'll keep answering that.
To see the full list of deployments, head over to SpaceX.com.
So with James Webb, there's no way for us to approach it right now with current technology without basically making it freeze over because our thrusters would do that. It's just that cold. So right now we don't know how to refuel it. But maybe in the next decade, 15 years, we'll be able to figure out a way. We're coming up to that first deployment here. Hopefully we'll have a live view of it, but we'll see. We won't see most of them, but we'll see from there.
Unicorn 2E separation confirmed.
There's separation of the first one. Deployment in progress. Coming up on another one here. So you see there was actually two there. Here comes a third. Peter, that's actually already an option. Should be another deployment here.
Alpha 2, separations confirmed.
There we go. Yeah, so it is already an option that is being started up. A couple different ways that it can happen. It's not cheap, but it is possible to have remains put and launched into space. I would definitely consider it. There's a live view of the second stage with all of those CubeSats. So you can see all the stuff cram-packed on there. Got a little bit of a pod here, a break here for deployment, but some of those you'll see one might eject one at a time. Those blue boxes each have one in it, so you might see one eject, or there could be two in each. So then they'll shoot out. The blue boxes might stay. The blue boxes might leave if they're actually the satellite, and they just separate from it. So there's lots of different ways these different vehicles can be launched. Coming up on another deploy, and then look at that sequence. Deploy, 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 deploy. 82 deployments in 30 minutes. So it averages out to about one every 20 seconds or so. But as you can see, there's a lot of quick ones, and hopefully we'll have a live view of those as they come up here. Stand by for another deployment.
Alpha 3, separations confirmed.
And unfortunately, we lost the camera right before that. We'll try to bring up that camera view whenever it is available here. But we'll try to also keep that telemetry always available as well. Here we go. We got 6 or 7 right one after another. They might just go through all of them and then say them at one time.
TVA 1, separation confirmed. EPSO 1, separation confirmed. Gossamer Piccolomini, separation confirmed.
There's 4. There's 5.
DWASAT 1, separation confirmed. NUX 1, separation confirmed.
There's a nice chunk there done. Now keep in mind, this is all around the thing, so one deployment might go this way, one to go that way, one go that way. So that's why they can be pretty quick. Peter, sometimes they can. Depends on what the customer has requested. It also depends if they have a live view. Sometimes they show it, sometimes they don't. But also, there's spheres here. If their camera's here and all the deployments are happening over here, we're not going to see it anyways, so they just don't show it all the time. Hopefully we'll see some, but not all of them, unfortunately. There we go. There's that live view that we wanted. Maybe we'll see a couple deployments happen here. We'll keep this up with the live tracker on the far right as well, as long as we can. Then we'll... There's that loss of... They keep losing that telemetry, so... Volcano Go, you're right. Remember to like and share. It is a big help. Coming up on another wave of deployments here. I keep losing that telemetry every time the camera comes up. Let's see. Can they hold it this time? Nope. They're trying. We're just going to stay like this for a minute and see. They are definitely trying to get that camera up. But it could even just be something with the camera. Here we go. Big wave of deployments. No, go back.
Oscipod 2, separations confirmed.
Remember, you guys can keep sending in questions. We'll be answering those as we
4,
go through the
confirmed.
deployment sequence here. Just take us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those.
Oscipod 1, separations confirmed.
You can hear pods and other things. Pod might be one CubeSat or small sat, or it could be a device that holds multiple sats at one time. 105 satellites over 82 deployments.
Oscipod 3, separations confirmed.
Oh, there was one.
SuperDove,
We got it for a
separation
second.
confirmed. SuperDove, separation confirmed. SuperDove, separation confirmed. Lemur 2, separation confirmed.
We got to see one for a second. There we go. Let's hold the view. Ah. I think they're having some camera issues today. Oh, no. I feel bad for their video team. It's hard to know. Do they cut to it? There we go.
Kepler
There's
17,
one.
Separation confirmed. Lemur 2, separation confirmed. SuperDove, separation confirmed. Aurora
Justin.
Tech, separation confirmed.
Justin, how do they keep all the satellites safe from space junk? That's the
SuperDove,
risk of launching a
separation
satellite. You have to understand that there's the risk of space junk hitting your thing.
SuperDove,
Space
separation
junk
confirmed.
is a real issue. There goes a... Oh, that one's turning.
SuperDove, separation confirmed.
That one didn't look like it was supposed to, I don't think. I don't think they're supposed to come out like this. But maybe. Yeah, it's just something you have to be aware of, that there is the risk that you hit by space junk. These things are so small, it definitely makes it a lot less, like, there's a lot of space junk, but the bigger you are, the more likely you're going to get hit by something. So the smaller it is, the better. But, yeah, there is space junk, and we need to work on cleaning up our low Earth orbit, definitely. But unfortunately, the U.S.
As you may
isn't
have
the worst.
noticed, we heard 24 of the expected 26 deployments. Again, we were not expecting to get all deployments confirmed in real time, so we'll work to confirm with our teams and provide an update a bit later in the webcast. In the meantime, the next 37 deployments are going to happen during a blackout period, which basically means that we lose camera views and telemetry. While we wait to regain access to ground station coverage in a few minutes, sit back and follow along with our animation that shows you where we are in the mission. We'll see you back here at T+1 hour and 15 minutes.
And just like that, we are in a blackout phase, which means they do not have telemetry in this moment. Looking where they are now, they just went over India, and now they're going over Russia and then the North Pole, and that's why we're going to have blackout for about 15 minutes. Johnny spinning satellite, Conan Spinny Boy, yeah. Absolutely. Need better ground station coverage, definitely do. The neat thing is, if Starlink works, I mean, their altitude right now is 540 kilometers, so they're actually at the same altitude as Starlink, but if they were below it, the theory is they might be able to use Starlink for data. So it'll be interesting to see. Carlos, the purpose of these payloads, they're all different. There's camera payloads on board for tracking different, being able to take pictures of the same place every day with the same lighting to see how it changes. That's why we're going into a sun synchronous orbit. And there's a lot of other things. So we'll see what happens. But there's lots of different missions. We don't know about all of them. They're not all publicly disclosed what they are. But if you reach out to like the companies that are on board, then you could probably find out more. Carrie, maybe these are creating more space junk. No, these are pretty good. These are going into specific orbits, and they are all tracked. Anything that gets launched does have to have a tracker in it. The space junk we have is the debris from the rockets, from countries using ASAT missiles blowing up their satellites. And I'm not only calling out Russia. China has done it. The US has done it. It is something that has been done by multiple people, and it all creates space junk. Tony, just checking into these communication satellites. Most of them are photo satellites and different things. Some of them are communication, but they're all small sats. Yeah, so that was a ground station video link problem, it seems, because they weren't in a blackout period as they were over India. So it looks like they might have had something with the ground station there. You guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. We'll be answering those. As you can see, deployments are occurring right now. The next 32 deployments are going to occur while there is no data. So they're not going to have confirmation of these deployments until after the they get their ground station back, and then they'll actually be able to get data, see all the things that did trigger, and confirm all of those. But yeah, if you're just joining us, you're watching our live coverage of Transporter 3, SpaceX launching 105 satellites with 82 different deployments. Booster 1058 had a beautiful launch this morning from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Landed back at Landing Zone 1, a very rare landing back at the Cape. And now we are in the middle of a blackout period for about 12 more minutes. It sounds like they said they'd be back with us at T plus 1 minute 15. I feel like she meant 25, but we'll see. And we'll patch them in, of course, the second they get started. But passing over Russia right now, coming up over the pole, and then hopefully have telemetry over Canada. Hitch, anyone here worried about congestion in orbit? It is definitely something to worry about. Not so much congestion. Space is big. But it is something that needs to be monitored and tracked, and things that are garbage need to be removed. So I really hope in this decade, the 2020s, I hope one thing that the space industry works on is how to clean it up. And I think Starship's a really great option. I think we could definitely see an option where a Starship launches and has a payload door that maybe has some sort of small robotic device that can come out of Starship, get a piece, and then put it in it, and then they can dispose of the Starship in orbit, or just bring it all back down. The biggest issue is if you right now there's space junk, and they are working on things that can go attach or hit space junk to push it into a different orbit. The issue with the Starship idea, which I like and don't like, is great, you want to do the Pac-Man thing, it eats it, great, you've now got this thing floating in your Starship. Your Starship now has to re-enter and have gravity. You have no way to secure that space junk. So that space junk is going to be like a rattle. So that's an issue that we have. So right now, the theory is you just need something to hit something fast enough, or lightly attach on, fire an engine to push it into a deorbit. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done on cleaning up the orbit so we don't have Kessler syndrome. But Kessler syndrome would be terrible. William, any updates on the orbital launch? Nothing yet. We're not going to have anything end of February at the earliest. We have to wait on the FAA. They are doing a lot of work on the launch site, getting the tower ready. They're doing some testing of the chopsticks or the catch arms for the booster with some very unique water balloons. Yep, enough said. but they are working on that. Deve and Shu asks, what if there is an error during lunch? I'm assuming you mean lunch. If there's an error during lunch, it means I go hungry. If it's... Oh, let's listen in, and then I'll answer that.
3, SpaceX's third dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission. We had a successful liftoff at 10:25 a.m. Eastern from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We have 105 spacecraft on board today's mission, spanning across 82 deployments. So far, we've had 24 confirmed separation events and are currently waiting to hear the callouts for another 37, which occurred during a blackout period with no access to ground station coverage. To see a full list of the deployments, head on over to SpaceX.com. Now let's listen in to hear the confirmation of those deployments.
We're going to listen in for those. Question, error during launch. So if there's an error with the booster,
37 satellites
it does
confirmed.
have a self-destruct.
Acquisition of signal. Spell burn.
There we go. So we have acquisition of signal. That's why we're going to see live data now, and live telemetry. But the confirmation of all those ones that just deployed. I'll keep this audio on, but I'm going to talk over it. So there depends what the issue is. If it's a crew mission, the capsules save the crew and have an emergency escape system. If it's cargo, they do not. Cargo, that's just one of the risks you take, and you have insurance. So your launch can't take off unexpectedly if it's being fueled. If it's being fueled, it's not just going to accidentally launch. There's a lot of sequences that go into that. It could explode, like we saw with Arabsat 2, I think it was. It blew up on the pad during a static fire test. But SpaceX does so much testing of these boosters and their engines and their pads. They're safe. Devashu, can we go to the ISS? Yes, anyone can actually go to the ISS. It is a process, expensive, and you do have to qualify, but you are able to go if you would like to. We have a video over on our channel, so if you just click the Launchpad's logo below this video, you can go over on our channel, and we have a video that we talk about budgeting your trip to the ISS, not including your launch. So we go through all those costs with the updated prices directly from NASA that we got, so you can check that out.
Super Dove separation confirmed.
You'd buy into stock for space salvage? Yeah, I think it would go pretty well, absolutely.
Super Dove separation confirmed.
So you can hear all these separations that were confirmed during that coast phase where we had the blackout. They were still deploying automated. Falcon's that smart. It knows how to deploy even if we don't have communication with it. Compared to watching the JWS launch, the current stream is a little less people in the chat. Makes it a little calmer.
Super Dove separation confirmed.
So Elon the Great launches twice as many satellites that currently in orbit without any solution to
Super Dove separation
no,
confirmed.
there are tens of thousands of satellites in orbit. 102 is nothing. Tens of thousands of CubeSats and everything that have been launched. A lot of deorbited, but yeah. If it's junk, it's junk. Make one super thick chambers for the junk so it doesn't puncture re-entry. That's possible. Maybe. Absolutely. Scrapped up or burned up or melted? Absolutely. Oh, startups removing space junk. It's a big growth area. Yeah, absolutely. There's lots to learn on how to remove space junk. the 400 to 500 kilometer range are very busy. Thanks, Devashi. Appreciate it. Most of the junk is from the 60s, though. Joe is right. Ren, Paul, when is that going to the ISS? Believe it or not, I'd love to see the ISS. It'd be amazing to board it. I don't know if I want to. And I know a lot of people are like, what? You want to go to space, but you don't want to go to the ISS? I want to see the ISS. I want to see Hubble. The ISS is not big. I'd love to see the cupola. I'd love to see the American section. I really don't want to see the Russian section. It's tiny. I'm not claustrophobic, but it's small. But yeah, we made a joke that 100,000 subscribers, I'm supposed to buy a suborbital flight to space, and we have been working on it. And if you guys keep going, we've got about 15 more minutes in this broadcast or so of deployments. We are 100 away from 50,000, which is blowing me away that we are already at that point. But you guys are making me worried that I'm going to have to buy a suborbital flight this year. But obviously a lot of stuff has to go into that, medical clearance and everything. But at 100,000, I will seriously start looking and trying to arrange one for upcoming. I would love to try to book a 0G flight maybe for this year, if possible. And of course, we'll take you along with us for that.
Super Dove, separation confirmed.
Dog tones. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dog's mom. How's it going? If you have a question, let me know. Glad to answer it. Tony, it's a great stream. I don't know what your background is, but you're very knowledgeable. Thanks, I appreciate it. A lot of studying and reading. I've studied business. I've got part of my business degree that I've worked on, so I haven't finished that. Worked in the humanitarian industry with World Vision for a number of years, so I've worked in the field there. Have done a trade mission with the Canadian government to China. Done a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people have asked for a video that breaks down me, so we might just have to do that on one of our launch podcasts. That's our new weekly live show. So we might have to do that on an upcoming one, because I know a lot of people have been asking about that. But yeah, a lot of studying and reading, just love space. And so much stuff is happening right now that I really wanted to make sure that people know what's happening, because if you don't, you're really going to get left behind. And it was really cool, actually. I'm not going to say who it was, but actually one of our moderators knew a lot about James Webb's been amazing helping with James Webb and those chats, but didn't know about the Artemis program at all. And it's really cool that there are a lot of people out there that know Falcon 9 launches but have never heard of SLS, or have heard of SLS but don't know of Soyuz. And we heard it a lot last year as we were growing the channel last year. People, I've watched all the SpaceX launches, but I've never watched the Soyuz. And, so they watched the Soyuz because we broadcasted it. And they're like, wow, that was actually really cool. And they had some beautiful shots of the engines that day of the Soyuz. So there's a lot happening, and it's sometimes hard to find where all this stuff is happening, which is why we want to build one place. That's why our name's the Launch Pad, is anything launching or to do with space is here. And that is why we try to cover it. Space news, live launch coverage, interviews, press conferences, hearings. We try to bring it all to you as much as we can. And we'll be growing it and growing our team. So we're excited about that. And a lot of space doesn't have to be complicated. It is rocket science, but it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Thanks, Jazz. Mr. Frenchie, your math teacher. Who's your math teacher? That's awesome. If you've got a contact, we're always down for more interviews. Hitch, the current number is not tens of thousands. It got cut off. It's not tens of thousands currently in orbit, but there have been a lot of CubeSats and stuff launched over the year. There's lots of suborbital launches that have launched bulk stuff. So there have been a lot of launches with stuff on board. A lot of stuff goes up to the ISS to get deployed as well. So I wasn't talking individual. I was talking like individual units. Are definitely over 10, I would say. I mean, we've seen SpaceX launch probably over 4,000 in its flight history already, and all the stuff China launches and the Soyuz. There's a lot. Throw the junk into the sun. That takes a lot of energy. James, would you try one of those Virgin Galactic flights with Unity? Personally, and I know this isn't going to be a loved statement because Jeff Who, I would go on New Shepard first. It looks safer. The booster looks safer. The capsule looks safer. They've had a lot of really good flights. Unity doesn't have a great track record of at least following the rules. That's why there's been a big delay and an FAA delay in that, and like they're getting ready for their next mission, but it was supposed to be a few months ago. It was because they didn't actually do everything they were supposed to on their first mission because they had an issue. New Shepard looks safer, and it's cheaper. So I like New Shepard. Also, I think New Shepard, like, I love the idea of the plane, but New Shepard is a true rocket launch. You are loaded up into a capsule on top of a booster, and you go straight up. And I really think that would be a really amazing experience, getting to experience that true launch feeling for it. But maybe one day. Peter, you got 5 friends to watch yesterday too. So that's awesome, Peter. Appreciate it. That's what we want to do. Got to share it out. Share with your friends and family what's happening. There's so much happening in the world that it's hard to keep up. But we're glad to have you here. Tim, when is Virgin going to launch? We've got a few hours until their launch is scheduled. We'll see if there's any updates from them here. 30 minutes ago, they said they are go to begin their updated launch window is between 1:20 p.m. and 3:50 a.m. Pacific.
This is SpaceX's Transporter 3 mission, our third dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission. Now, when we came back from the blackout, we heard confirmation of those 37 payloads that were deployed during the loss of ground station coverage. And you just heard the call-outs for another 19. Now, as you may have noticed, we were unable to confirm 2 of the 82 deployments. Because the spacecraft on this mission are small sats, and because there was a large communications blackout during the deploy sequence, it can sometimes be difficult for us to confirm deployments in real time. I'm hearing from our teams that we likely won't have those confirmations in the next several minutes, so we're going to end our live broadcast and we'll provide an update on those final confirmations via social as soon as we receive them. Thanks again for watching today's launch, and we'll see you next time.
And that was very quick that they wrapped up, but that is that. They have wrapped there. Really weird. They took their mission control feed down. That spaceflight starts playing a video, but it was weird. They took that down before. They don't normally take mission control down first, but that is the launch there completed, and they are still working on deploying more, it looks like, but they didn't have all the confirmations, but are working on finishing those up as they go. We're going to answer the last couple questions before we wrap up. I know we had some questions about Virgin Orbit. They just did an update here. The new targeted takeoff time is between 1:20 p.m. and 3:50 p.m. Pacific. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. We're going to bring up a live tracker of their plane and then patch in their live coverage. They're currently scheduling their live broadcast to begin at 1 p.m., so we'll be live a little bit before that. But everything currently is go for that launch, but we'll be monitoring those updates. You can head on over to a link, I'll grab it for you guys, for our Virgin Orbit coverage for that launch happening later today, and you can hang out in that chat once we wrap up this stream, or you can hang on over in the James Webb. There's that link in the chat. Catching up on your guys' last few chats here. Last few questions. Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Watching from the UK, best channel to watch launches. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Try really hard for it. Starboy, that's great. Now I'm able to see all the launches in one place and say update. That's the goal. Peter Jordan, my friend, has a t-shirt that says, "But I am a rock." Ooh, that'd be a good shirt. Absolutely. Devashu, we do have a Instagram account. We haven't really used it. We're going to be working it up this year, working on it more, and TikTok as well. We focused it on YouTube first. We have Facebook, but we focused on YouTube and Twitter first, but we're going to be expanding out onto those other ones. If you want to have all of our links, you can head over to our website, thelaunchpadofficial.com, and that will be where you can get all of our updated links as they get released. Robert, Zach, do you think there will be more zero-G flights as people gear up for suborbital flights? Absolutely. I also think more people are realizing zero-G flights, like, with respect, aren't that expensive. It's an expensive thing. It's like the cost of a whole trip. You're ranging $5,000 to $7,000 US or more. But if you think about what actually you're getting to do and you're experiencing zero gravity and how much people pay for, like, a cruise, obviously it's a much quicker experience, but it's one of those experiences that you talk about, and a suborbital flight's going to change you more, or an orbital flight, but even zero-G, experiencing that, and I really like that what zero-G does. They simulate like Mars gravity and moon gravity, so you do get to experience not just near zero-G. You experience the others as well, so I definitely think we'll see more and more of those. Obviously you need plane safety. That's the only part I don't like, is thinking that my plane's going to do this. I don't like turbulence, and this seems like a really bad idea to me. People driving their cars to get junk food is more worrying than satellites. True. That's awesome, Justin. Appreciate it. Peter, Launchpad will be too popular to have these nice chats. We'll always work on having the chats. Super chats might have to be involved at some times, but we do always want to be answering the chat. And that's why we have our Discord, which you guys can join. I hang out there in the evenings and sometimes during the day. And we love talking to you guys and getting to know your guys' stories and just talk about space. So you guys can join there. We'll hang out in live comms following this launch for a little bit, getting ready for the next stream. Are you family of astronaut Robert Crimp? No, I sadly am not related to any astronauts. I'm from Canada, but hopefully I will be the first one in the family history at some point, but we'll see. Even for SpaceX, today sure is a quick stream. Yeah, well, Starlink's normally about at deployment about the hour 5 mark, and then wrap up about an hour 15, hour 10. But for the number of deployments, it was pretty quick. The Toolmat, thank you so much for that super chat there. See you next time. Great channel. Thank you so much for that $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you supporting what we do in that way. Thanks for the stream, everyone. Saying thank you. Thank you. Robert, do you think anyone will go up on both Virgin Galactic and New Shepard? Eventually, if you've got the money. I mean, it's a cool idea. I'd be down. If someone wants to cover one of the costs for me, like, sure. But I need to see Virgin Galactic be safer and do a lot more flights. New Shepard looks safe, so. Carlos, love your background. Show more to us. We're working on changing it a little bit, and we are working on doing a studio tour. I've said that since last February. But I am honestly working on doing a studio tour, planning it out, and hope to film that, I want to say, in the next week or so. So in the studio tour, I will take you around and show you guys everything that's in the studio and what you guys can, and how you might be able to pick some of them up. Virginia, TLP, do the shirts run large or small? I say they're really true to size. Actually, I've got like 15 of them. I run true to size on all of mine. They don't shrink really at all after a lot of washes. I know some of our team have had them and watched 15, 20 times, and they're just as good. Print's just as good. So definitely something to check out. Peter Jordan getting your Launchpad shirt this week. That's awesome, Peter. So exciting. Just a reminder, if you guys do order on the Etsy shop, if you guys can go back and leave a review after, you don't have to put a picture, but if you can put a picture of your product laid out or wearing it, that's also super helpful for other people to see what our products actually are, not just what we put out. They actually get to see what you guys have received. But even just a review or a quick sentence is a super big help. We'll see you later, Virginia. Thanks for being here. Danny D. Valatis, do you do music? If you reach out on Discord, let us know. Mr. French, you'd love to do the 0G. Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. Absolutely. Dog Tones, headlines. Young YouTuber from Canada going on Starship's first civilian mission. That'd be cool, but I'm not going on Dear Moon, unfortunately. Maybe the second mission, but one day that I would love to see that as a headline. Appreciate that, Mr. Frenchie. Vitalajas, do SpaceX sell their own models, or do you get them from some toy stores? Neither. So these are from a really awesome guy on Etsy that you can get, but called Starship Balls. But we are working on, if you look up here, oh, I'm looking at the wrong camera. This one. These here on this shelf are not the quarter. These are our tests, and we are going to be launching, we've been saying it on Discord and a few other things, we are going to be launching models that you guys can get. We're going to have kits, and we're also going to have fully completed ones of all different rockets. We're going to be working on a few different scales, one 100, probably one 144, and maybe a 148. These are 148s here. So we're not going to do everything in 148 because these are 5 feet tall. But we are going to offer the 100s and the 144s and maybe 200s on some of them on our shop starting in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Part of the profit from all of our models are going to go to be able to try to equip schools with models to be able to show their classes. So keep that. SpaceX doesn't sell models, though. But with that, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. We got a couple quick things. Of course, if this was your first time here, thank you so much for being here. Hit that subscribe button. It looks like we might hit that 50K during the Virgin orbit flight later today, so I hope you will join us for that. Super excited for that to happen. Really special milestone to hit. Halfway to a YouTube play button. But halfway to 100,000 explorers being here together. And here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And I want to thank all of you for watching, being so active in the chat, sending in your questions, and just the encouragement. You guys are amazing. Anytime you see a live stream with us, you are more than welcome in the chat. Consider joining us over on the Discord. I'm going to jump over into live comms here in just a little bit. Maybe we'll see some videos or photos from some people that were down at Florida today for the launch. We'll take a look at those. Take a look over at our shop. You can click the link that's going to be in the chat, and you can use the promo code LAUNCHDAY to get 10% off of everything on your order. And our shipping's really quick. If you are not in North America, we do have manufacturing in Europe and Australia and a few other places. So shipping is generally within just a few days of your order to get it to you guys as fast as possible. Shirts run true to size. And is a great way to help support us with getting something really awesome as well. Follow us over on Twitter at TLPN_official. That's where we live tweet space news updates. Sometimes before we even get our video space news updates, which are going to be resuming this week. We have our brand new show, the Live Launch Pod, happening. Episode 1 coming up tonight. So we hope you will join us for that. We're going to run down everything that's happened in the last week in space and then take all of your guys' live comments and questions. And we hope that you guys will join us then. So save some questions for then. It can be anything space related, and I will be live with Ian for that. But that is going to do it for us today and our live launch coverage of Transporter 3 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. 105 new satellites in orbit. Falcon 1058-10 complete. Now going for refurbishment, and soon its 11th flight. But for now, this is Zach with the Launchpad signing off. I'll see you later today for Virgin Orbit. Bye-bye.